Alright, let's go. Number 10. The boundary of the observable universe. In 2003, cosmologists confirmed what theoretical physics had long predicted, that the universe we can see has a hard edge, a wall beyond which no information has ever reached us. That wall sits roughly 46.5 billion light-years away in every direction, a perfect sphere of perception with Earth at its temporary center. Light from anything farther has simply not had time to arrive since the Big Bang. We are not looking at the universe. We are looking at a bubble of light old enough to have crossed the distance, and everything outside that bubble is, by the strictest definition, unknowable. This is not a technological limit. No future telescope will ever fix it. The expansion of space itself is dragging distant regions away faster than their light can travel toward us, meaning vast portions of reality are not just hidden, they are permanently sealed off. Whatever exists out there cannot reach us, cannot signal us, cannot be measured, cannot be confirmed or denied. It is functionally another reality, separated from ours by nothing more than time and the geometry of expansion. Here's where the nightmare begins. The laws of physics we trust, the constants we measure, the rules that hold atoms together and govern light and gravity are local. They are what we observe inside our bubble. Some cosmological models propose that beyond the boundary, those rules might shift. Different values for the speed of light, different gravitational strengths, different chemistry or no chemistry at all. Other models propose something worse, that our bubble is one of countless bubble universes, drifting and occasionally colliding in silence, and that one of those collisions could already be in progress, expanding toward us at a rate we cannot measure because the signal would arrive at the same instant as the impact. You exist inside a small sphere of comprehensible reality, and that sphere is shrinking relative to the universe as a whole. Every second, more galaxies cross the cosmological horizon and disappear forever, their light stretched into nothing. Your descendants, if any exist, will inhabit a darker, emptier cosmos than you do, and theirs will inhabit a darker one still. The observable universe is not a fact about reality. It is a temporary privilege, and it is being taken away. Number 9. Boltzmann brains in the void. In an infinite or sufficiently large universe, the statistical mathematics of quantum fluctuation produce something genuinely disturbing. Random thermal noise in deep intergalactic space, given enough time, will eventually assemble any configuration of matter, no matter how improbable, including a fully formed conscious brain. These hypothetical entities, named for the 19th century physicist Ludwig Boltzmann, would pop into existence in the void, complete with implanted memories of a life that never happened, hold a single coherent thought, and then dissolve back into randomness. The intergalactic void is the perfect breeding ground for them. Empty space at near absolute zero, stretching across hundreds of millions of light years, undisturbed for cosmic timescales. The quantum vacuum is never truly empty. It fluctuates constantly. Most fluctuations produce nothing of consequence, but across infinite time and infinite volume, the rare events become inevitable. Somewhere, right now, a brain is forming between the galaxies, experiencing what it believes is a continuous life, and ceasing to exist before it can complete a sentence. Here's where it turns on you. The mathematics suggests that simple structures form vastly more often than complex ones. A single disembodied brain requires far less improbable arrangement of particles than an entire 13.8 billion-year-old universe with consistent history and physical laws. This means, statistically, conscious observers are more likely to be brief fluctuations in the void than evolved biological organisms on planets. You are more likely, by a staggering margin, to be a Boltzmann brain that formed seconds ago than a human being with a real past. Your memories of childhood, of the people you love, of the room you are in right now, could be elaborate fabrications encoded into a neural pattern that happened to assemble itself out of intergalactic noise. The galaxies you have read about, the science that makes this theory possible, the very voice describing it to you, could all be confabulation. There is no test that can distinguish between genuine memory and quantum coincidence. The only proof that you are real is your conviction that you are, and that conviction is exactly what a Boltzmann brain would possess in its final fraction of a second before dissolving. Number 8. Cosmic strings. In 1976, physicist Tom Kibble proposed that the universe might be threaded with leftover defects from the Big Bang, one-dimensional cracks in space-time itself called cosmic strings. These hypothetical structures would be thinner than a proton but stretch for billions of light years, crossing the void between galaxies like invisible wires strung through the cosmos. A piece of cosmic string the length of Earth would weigh more than the moon. The energy density is so extreme that the string warps the geometry of space around it, causing duplicated images of any galaxy that happens to lie behind it. They are not made of matter. They are flaws in the fabric of reality, scars from the first fraction of a second after the universe began, when the cooling cosmos passed through phase transitions and not every region settled into the same state. The boundaries between those regions, if they exist, never healed. They became permanent threads, invisible, almost massless to detect, vibrating slowly through the void at speeds approaching light. The truly horrifying aspect is what one would do to anything it touched. Because the string is essentially a one-dimensional rip in space, brushing against it does not crush or burn or radiate. It cuts, cleanly, instantly, atomically. A cosmic string passing through a planet would slice the planet in two without resistance, the cut so perfect that the two halves would only separate when gravity allowed. A cosmic string passing through you would not be felt as pain. It would simply divide you into two halves that had never been connected, your consciousness ending mid-thought as the two hemispheres of your brain became two separate objects. They might still be out there. Some models predict a few cosmic strings survived from the early universe and now drift through the intergalactic void, vibrating at near light speed, occasionally whipping their loops into the path of galaxies and stars. You will never see one approach. They emit almost no light. The first sign of a cosmic string would be the gravitational lensing of a background galaxy suddenly duplicating, and by then, the string would be closer than any warning could matter. Number 7. Intergalactic plasma clouds. The universe has a bookkeeping problem. When astronomers add up all the visible matter in stars, planets, gas clouds, and galaxies, the total falls dramatically short of what theoretical models predict should exist. For decades, physicists have searched for this missing baryonic matter, the ordinary atoms that should be present but cannot be found. In 2018, observations confirmed at least part of the answer. Half of the universe's normal matter exists as a vast, nearly invisible ghost, drifting between the galaxies as superheated plasma. This haze is called the Warm-Hot Intergalactic Medium. It is hydrogen and helium stripped of their electrons, glowing faintly in X-rays at temperatures between 100,000 and 10 million degrees Kelvin. It is hotter than the surface of any star, yet so diffuse, so spread across millions of cubic light-years, that it gives off almost no detectable light. You could fly a spacecraft through a region of this plasma at temperatures that would vaporize tungsten, and the instruments would barely register a temperature change, because the density is lower than the best vacuum ever created in a laboratory. What makes this unsettling is the scale of what was hidden in plain sight. Half of all the atoms that exist in the universe, half of every element that builds stars and planets and biology, has been drifting unseen between the galaxies for billions of years. The cosmos, you imagine, the bright spiral structures, the glowing nebulae, the visible architecture of reality, is the minority. The majority is a ghost. The void is not empty. It is a vast ocean of invisible fire, and the galaxies are isolated islands within it. You are looking at the wrong universe. The one you can see is a thin scattering of light against a backdrop of nearly invisible plasma so hot it should be impossible to ignore, yet so thin it is hidden from every telescope ever built. What else is out there at densities lower still, at temperatures we have not learned to detect in regions our instruments cannot yet penetrate? The intergalactic void is teaching us a lesson we did not want to learn. Most of reality is designed to be invisible to us. Number 6. The Great Attractor. In the 1970s, astronomers measuring the motion of galaxies noticed something deeply wrong. The Milky Way was not drifting peacefully through the cosmos. It was falling. Along with the Andromeda Galaxy, the Virgo supercluster, and thousands of other galaxies, our galaxy is being pulled at 1.4 million miles per hour toward a single point in space roughly 220 million light-years away. Something is there, something massive enough to drag entire galactic neighborhoods across the void. We have named it the Great Attractor. We cannot see it. The Great Attractor lies behind the zone of avoidance, the band of sky obscured by the dust and stars of our own Milky Way's disk. The very galaxy we live in is blocking our view of the thing pulling us toward it. We can only measure its effect, the steady, relentless gravitational tug acting on millions of galaxies across hundreds of millions of light-years. Whatever the Great Attractor is, it has been pulling us toward it for longer than complex life has existed on Earth. Recent observations have suggested that the Great Attractor itself may be only a foothill, that beyond it lies something larger still, a structure called the Shapley concentration, and that both are being pulled by something larger than either. The cosmos is not static. It is a slow, silent landslide, and we are sliding into it. We do not know what waits at the bottom. We do not know if anything physical sits there at all, or whether the pull is an artifact of dark matter, or a flaw in our model of gravity, or something with no name yet. You will not live to see what we are falling toward, neither will your species. The journey is too slow, the distance too vast, but the fall is real. Every measurement confirms it. Every second, the Milky Way moves slightly closer to a destination it cannot perceive, pulled by a force whose source is hidden behind a wall of dust. We are passengers on a galaxy that is being moved, and the thing doing the moving has not announced itself. Number 5. Dark galaxies. In 2016, astronomers studying the galaxy Dragonfly 44 reached a conclusion that should not have been possible. The galaxy was roughly the size of the Milky Way. It contained roughly the same total mass as the Milky Way, but it was made of almost nothing. The visible stars accounted for less than 1/100th of 1% of its mass. The remaining 99.99% was dark matter, an entire galaxy, the size of our own, almost completely invisible. Dragonfly 44 was not unique. Astronomers have since identified dozens of these ultra-diffuse galaxies, and theoretical models suggest they may outnumber the visible galaxies in the universe. For every bright spiral you have ever seen in a photograph, there could be one or more dark counterparts drifting through the void, structurally identical, gravitationally enormous, and almost completely undetectable. They are not failed galaxies. They are simply galaxies that never lit up. The implication is that the cosmos has a hidden population. Vast structures, each containing the mass of billions of suns, each warping the space around it, each potentially passing through or near visible galaxies without being seen. A dark galaxy could drift through the Milky Way over millions of years, distorting orbits, perturbing stars, leaving gravitational fingerprints on our spiral arms, and we would only detect it by the damage it caused. The Andromeda Galaxy is approaching us at 500,000 miles per hour. We can see it coming. A dark galaxy of equal mass could be doing the same thing right now from another direction, and we would not know until the tides began. You have looked at the night sky your entire life. You have been told it is a map of the universe. It is not. It is a map of the universe that happens to emit light, a selection bias built into your eyes and your telescopes. The real map includes structures you cannot see, on scales you cannot easily imagine, surrounding the bright objects you mistake for the whole. Most of the universe's architecture is dark, and the bright universe you love is the exception. Number 4. Intergalactic black holes. When two galaxies collide, their central supermassive black holes spiral toward each other and eventually merge. The collision is one of the most violent events in the cosmos, releasing more energy and gravitational waves than all the stars in the visible universe combined. But the merger is not always clean. Sometimes the released gravitational waves are asymmetric, and the recoil kicks the newly merged black hole out of its host galaxy entirely, flinging it into the intergalactic void at millions of miles per hour. Astronomers have observed candidates for this process. One, called 3C186, appears to be fleeing its host galaxy at 4.7 million miles per hour. These are not small objects. A rogue supermassive black hole can carry the mass of millions of suns. It travels in silence, no longer feeding, no longer surrounded by the bright accretion disk that made it visible. It crosses the void as a near-perfect predator, almost massless to light, almost invisible to telescopes, detectable only by the gravitational lensing it produces when it happens to pass in front of a distant galaxy. Here's where it becomes personal. Astronomers estimate that thousands, possibly millions, of these ejected supermassive black holes are drifting between the galaxies right now, their host events long since faded, their trajectories random. Some are heading away from every galaxy. Some are heading toward one. We have no inventory. We cannot count them. We do not know where most of them are. One could be approaching the Milky Way at this moment, still hundreds of millions of years away, and we would have no method to detect it until its gravity began to perturb the outer stars of our galaxy. You will not be alive when one reaches us, if one is coming. But the cosmos has loaded the gun. Every galactic merger in the history of the universe has been a chance to fire one of these invisible bullets across the void, and the universe has been merging galaxies for over 10 billion years. The intergalactic dark is not empty, it is patrolled, and the things patrolling it are the densest, most destructive objects physics permits. Number 3. Dark matter filaments. The galaxies are not scattered randomly through the void. They are arranged along an invisible scaffolding, a vast three-dimensional web of dark matter that stretches across the entire universe. This structure, called the cosmic web, connects every galaxy cluster to every other through filaments of unseen mass. The filaments form the skeleton of reality. The galaxies are decoration. Dark matter makes up roughly 27% of the universe's mass-energy content, and almost all of it is concentrated in this hidden web. We cannot see dark matter. We cannot touch it, photograph it, or directly measure it. We know it exists only because of how it bends light and how it holds galaxies together. We know the filaments exist only because galaxies trace them. Every galaxy you have ever seen, every cluster, every supercluster, sits on a strand of something we cannot detect. The visible universe is a string of pearls draped over an invisible frame, and the frame is doing all the work. Here's where the nightmare begins. We have no idea what dark matter actually is. Decades of experiments, deep underground detectors, particle colliders, astronomical surveys have failed to identify a single particle of it. It interacts with normal matter only through gravity, and only barely through gravity at that. The most fundamental support structure of the cosmos is composed of something humans have never directly observed and may never be able to. The universe is held together by a material we cannot name. You exist on a thread of this web, attached to your galaxy, attached to the local group, attached to the Virgo supercluster, attached to filaments stretching across hundreds of millions of light years. You are riding scaffolding made of mystery. If the dark matter theory is wrong, then our entire understanding of cosmic structure is wrong, and we do not know why galaxies hold together. If the theory is right, then most of reality is constructed from a substance we cannot perceive, and the bright universe we celebrate is a thin film stretched across an invisible architecture we may never be permitted to understand. Number 2. Rogue intergalactic stars. In 2005, astronomers identified a star called SDSSJ 090745.0 plus 0.24507, traveling at over 1.7 million miles per hour. It was leaving the galaxy. A close encounter with the supermassive black hole at the Milky Way's center had slingshotted it outward at escape velocity, casting it into the intergalactic void on a one-way trip. It would never return. Astronomers have since identified dozens of these hypervelocity stars, and they estimate that the universe contains trillions of similar stellar exiles drifting alone between the galaxies. These are not just stars without companions. They are stars without any reference points at all. From the surface of a planet orbiting one, the night sky would be empty. No constellations. No Milky Way band. No nearby stars. Just the single sun overhead and an infinite black void in every direction, broken only by a few impossibly faint smudges that would be galaxies tens of millions of light years away. An astronomer on such a planet looking up might never realize that other stars existed. The science of astronomy would be impossible to invent. Here's where it turns inward. Some of these rogue stars carry planets with them. The gravitational slingshot that ejects the star can drag a portion of its planetary system along. Those planets would experience an endless silent night, illuminated only by their single fleeing sun, traveling through a darkness so complete that the concept of distance would lose its meaning. If life ever emerged on such a planet, it would have no neighbors to find. The dream of contact, the search for other minds, would not even be a dream. There would be nothing to dream of. You live on a planet whose night sky is full. You inherited a galaxy. You inherited constellations, navigation, mythology, the entire concept of looking up. The trillions of beings, if any exist, on planets orbiting rogue intergalactic stars have inherited none of it. They live in absolute cosmic isolation, and the universe is producing more of them every time a star wanders too close to a supermassive black hole. The void is being populated, slowly, with the exiled and the alone. Number 1, the cosmic voids. The largest known void, called the Boötes Void, spans roughly 330 million light-years across. Inside it, the density of galaxies falls to about 10% of the cosmic average. It is not completely empty, but it is close. Light from one side of the Boötes Void takes more than 300 million years to reach the other. A civilization at its center would look up and see, instead of the rich starfield humans inherit, an almost perfectly black sky broken only by a handful of distant, isolated points. The Boötes Void is not unique. The universe is riddled with these enormous emptinesses, vast bubbles of nothing separated by the thin walls of the cosmic web. They are not anomalies. They are the dominant feature of the cosmos by volume. Most of the universe is void. The galaxies cluster on the boundaries, and the spaces between those boundaries dwarf the structures themselves. If you randomly selected a cubic light year of the universe, the overwhelmingly likely answer is that you would find nothing there at all. Here's where the nightmare begins. We exist where we exist because life requires complexity, and complexity requires stars and heavy elements and the dense neighborhoods that produce them. We were never going to evolve inside a void, but intelligence is not the same as awareness, and we have no guarantee that consciousness requires the same conditions life does. If anything ever did awaken inside a void, by any process we have not yet imagined, it would awaken into a darkness so total that the concept of an external universe might never occur to it. It would believe it was alone because, functionally, it would be. The truly horrifying aspect is what this implies about the Earth. We were lucky. We evolved in a region of the cosmos dense enough to give us a sky, dense enough to give us neighbors, dense enough to give us the illusion that the universe is full. A civilization in the Boötes Void would have developed a completely different cosmology. They would have looked up at near-total darkness and concluded that the cosmos was empty, that they were the only thing in it, and they would have been almost right. We owe our entire understanding of the universe to the accident of our address. The voids are growing. As dark energy accelerates the expansion of space, the empty regions stretch faster than the filaments can resist, and the bright structures of the cosmic web are being pulled further apart. In the deep future, every galaxy will eventually find itself isolated, its neighbors carried beyond the cosmological horizon, its sky emptying year by year until only its own stars remain. The voids are not a feature of the universe. They are its destination. Everything that exists is slowly being delivered into them. You inherited a full sky. Your descendants will not. The galaxies between the galaxies will fade. The cosmic web will thin. The bright universe will become a memory, and then less than a memory, as the regions of darkness swallow the regions of light. The void is patient. It has been waiting since the first stars formed. It will still be waiting when the last one goes out. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.